Hi YouTube. For this video for Think for a Change, I want to be talking again about specifically the videos that I'm doing, the series of Think for a Change videos and why they're here and how they can actually be improved and expanded. So to begin, what I started with when I wanted to make this project was the idea that I wanted to offer resources to people out there who may not have access to certain philosophical ideas or books or be aware of them. So I literally was reading passages from books early on to be able to share that material with you. And all of that is in the interest of provoking your own thinking, which is great. And I got so much wonderful response from that then I even was tipped off by people to start talking about current events as they were happening. So I was responding to the UCLA student and her comments about Asians in the library, or the trans woman who was attacked in Maryland last April. And that was really important, and I want to be able to keep doing that too. But then people were even asking me to start sharing more of my own thoughts instead of just reading from these books or just commenting on what was going on, to actually offer some original material. And I have that. I have lots of ideas, and I'm excited and eager to share them with you. And I'm working right now on figuring out ways to do that by linking to my blog, or even somehow finding ways to connect with my classroom and what I do in there. So it's exciting. It's super, super awesome and exciting that this is being so beneficial for my own thinking. But it's helpful and encouraging and really awesome, but it's not so awesome for two reasons. One, with respect to my own thinking, it's kind of limited in that I can only offer you one step of where I'm at. So you only get an incomplete picture of where I have gone with my thinking. So it's wonderful that when I sit down to try to make a video, I force myself to distill my thoughts into a very concentrated and accessible little package of under 13 minutes. But that's all you get. So already it's been distilled, so whatever is happening in the more complex picture, I can't acknowledge and I can't really address it in the video, which might be helpful for you to know that the pictures are more complex. But then I also make the video and then I offer it and then it's done and you get it. And in the process of doing that and talking with other people and getting feedback, my thoughts change. So I don't give you a path of how my thought has developed. So for instance, one of my latest videos of the pleasure of quitting smoking, I did that wrong because the point is to not have a normalized end that you're going to. So it turns more into positive reinforcement in terms of psychological principles rather than non-normalized discipline for the sake of pleasure in philosophical terms that I was going for. So I'm still in the process of quitting smoking and it's going fine, but the video is a little misleading and maybe you didn't catch that. You also don't know that okay, after doing my rape scripts video, I talk about an epistemology of ignorance, perhaps, of not knowing the rates of sexual assault for children and minors and how that plays into a continuation of one idea of rape. But I also wasn't able to address, because I didn't have enough time, the elements of race and how that complicates stories, and statistically that's huge, but I couldn't really address it. And then in terms of my Where Are the Gay Girls paper ideas that I was throwing around last fall, that thought has really developed a whole lot, and now I want to be talking about homophobia, forms of homophobia, not only with respect to girls, but how it alienates lots of different people and has implications for boys and men too. So my thought continues, but you don't get that because you only heard the original video. And so yeah, I could be doing response videos to myself just to keep you in the loop, but then it feels kind of redundant. I don't know, maybe it's something I should think about. But anyway, the other issue is that, yeah, these YouTube videos have been awesome, but point number two is that this is for you all as well. It's not just to get my thinking juicy and motivated, but rather, what about you? I'm doing this to try to provoke thinking in you, the viewers. And how does that go? I don't really know. I mean, I've gotten wonderful feedback from so many people, and I appreciate the emails that I've been getting. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate even people have been adding me on Facebook just so that we can stay in contact in a different way. And that's great, but I don't know how your thinking is being pushed beyond your first initial view of the video, because we can't have a conversation. A video is me setting up a camera, talking to it here once, and then you listen to it, and then it's kind of, that's it. One step, two step, and we're done. Now, there are the comments that can happen underneath the videos, and that's good. I encourage you all to engage with one another as much as possible on ideas that come up. But comments are also limiting because there's so much space that you can use, and it can get back and forth, and you can't articulate everything that you want to say, and so it can actually be like really inefficient and sometimes just misleading to engage at that level of comments. So people said, well, maybe there's a bigger forum for comments. And I tried saying, go to my blog and we can have longer comments there. There's not really a limit for how much you can post. And so that's one option of like getting a conversation continuing after the videos, but it hasn't really worked as well as I would like for it to. The other option that someone suggested was having other people, viewers, post video responses, which is a fabulous idea. It's YouTube. But so far nobody's really done that either, as far as I know. They haven't directly responded to any of the videos that I've posted. That would be interesting if it happened, to see how that changed conversations and if more people got involved. I don't know. It would be good. And then, of course, the third way that you can respond, there's probably more, but at least the third is that you can take whatever I say in the video and carry it out into conversations that you have with people you know in your life. So friends or strangers or family or whatever. And that's awesome. I hope that that's happening. And I know that it is because I've heard from some of you that it is, but it still leaves what happens here with the video and then with you and with me one-dimensional, one-sided, and one or two steps. So this is really different though, like me trying to give information to you via YouTube. It's a different process that I'm still trying to figure out how I can make it better, how I can make it more effective, and what the possibilities are that are available. And this is why I'm sort of asking you all for help right now. And I know that this is different than what happens in my classroom in really important ways, because in a classroom, when I have my own group of students over an extended period of time, yes, my thinking is similarly pushed and provoked in really wonderful and rich ways, but we're able to have extended conversations that follow a kind of coherent development, so we can refer back to things and bring in new ideas, and then we can sort of develop our own way of talking about issues because we've been together for so long. And not just that, it's not a one person to one person and now you figure it out on your own, but we have a group dynamic in a classroom where the students learn with and from one another. So it's not just a responsibility of like, here's a book I'm telling you to read, go read it and figure it out. We all do it together in class. And I think that's helpful, and it encourages and supports people's thinking in ways that I don't know how promising it really is. It would be interesting again to hear if any of you all have picked up the books I've mentioned, tried to read them on your own, and what you got out of it, or if you got frustrated, or if you were confused, or if you really, really loved it and it worked well for you and really spurred more thinking. That would be awesome too. But I don't know how these things are going. All I know is that when I teach in a classroom, it's different, and I can use different techniques and methods than I can when I'm doing this on YouTube. So, what I'm going for though, the title is Think for a Change. I want to know if this method and trying to encourage thinking via YouTube is having any kind of change. I think it's interesting because I'll read to you, as usual, a section from one book. This is The Therapy of Desire by Martha Nussbaum, and she's talking about ancient Greek and Roman philosophy, which has a different view of philosophy that is specifically tailored for therapy. So it's a medical model of philosophy that is addressing certain ills and how to do that. So I want a kind of impact and change. Of course, the thinking for a change is referring to social change. That's why we talk about things like racism, and I have feminist angles and gender and all of that. But also on an individual level, which started with the It Gets Better project video that I did, like, I want to be able to allow and provide for thinking that creates a fortitude in people so that they can live. Like, that change is going to be a personal change to strengthen us to be the sort of people who can live our lives with health and happiness and courage and all of that. So this isn't unusual. Like, this isn't my own thing. This is what happened in history of philosophy too. But so here's an interesting part that I want to share with you. Nussbaum explains that Cicero said, a deductive argument does little to engage the ordinary hearer or to probe into and alter the hearer's life. So the philosopher who records and systematizes ordinary beliefs can use a familiar dialectical argument. She can elicit the ordinary beliefs by calm questioning and then do whatever dialectical maneuvering needs to be done to achieve consistency. But medical philosophy the one that seeks this kind of change, cannot take this course either, for its task requires delving deep into the patient's psychology and ultimately challenging and changing it. Calm dialectic does not probe deep enough to elicit hidden fears, frustrations, angers, attachments. Okay, the medical philosophy then, while committed to logical reasoning and argumentation, such as clarity, consistency, rigor, breadth of scope, will often need to search for techniques that are more complicated and indirect, more psychologically engaging than those of conventional deductive or dialectic argument. It must find ways to delve into the pupil's inner world, using gripping examples, techniques of narrative, appeals to memory and imagination, all in the service of bringing the pupil's whole life into the investigative process. In short, then, what philosophy needs, practiced in the medical way, is an account of complex human interactions of a philosophical kind. And for this, it needs to think about the uses of the imagination, about narrative, about community, about friendship, about the rhetorical and literary forms in which an argument may be effectively housed. Each Hellenistic school does this in its own way, but all agree that philosophy is a complex form of life with complex arts of speech and writing. When I read that, it really caught my attention, and now that I'm thinking about what can I do to facilitate greater community and new ways of thinking, what sort of techniques do I need to employ to be able to actually affect a change and grip the ordinary here, so that we're not just talking about philosophical arguments in a very deductive, logical way that can be really boring. How do I do this? So how do we have more complex human interactions of a philosophical kind? This is what I've been trying to facilitate on YouTube to pretty decent success, but I want to know what else I can do. So this is my call for you. I'm looking for help. What are the possibilities of making even more complex human interactions, like what we can have on the internet, maintain their philosophical character so that we can make these changes? I've suggested now make video responses would be interesting. The comments, we can still kind of explore what happens there. I'm going to be linking more to my blog because I'm doing my own work there lately a lot more heavily. And I mean, Facebook is still an option. People have been messaging me through YouTube still, but I'm now even interested in the possibility for things like Google+. So I've added a profile to Google+, and they have that Hangout option, which I think might be cool to have like an online office hours or something, where people can hang out with one another and talk. I don't know, but if you have ideas or suggestions, I would love to hear them, and I would love to get more involvement from you all, because this is a video like now I'm asking you for questions and answers and ideas. So whatever you think we can do to make more complex human interactions on the internet work, please let me know. And in the meantime, thank you very much again for the support and for watching, and we'll continue to hopefully think together. Thanks.